It's such a good story that it deserves another video made about it. Today we are talking about newly signed Chicago Blackhawks forward Patrick Kane. And just how much of a gut punch this does seem to be for the Detroit Red Wings. As well, we're going over Patrick Kane and his goodbye statement to the Detroit Red Wings. And I'm going to be honest, this is a really good statement. We'll get into this later on, but you know how most NHL statements or public pieces or comments or social media posts or whatever, they all seem contrived to a certain extent. Some of them feel like the agents wrote it. Some of them feel like just kind of regular PR speak. But for whatever reason, Patrick Kane's statement does read a lot more like an actual thing from his own brain or his own mouth, rather than somebody that formulated a generic goodbye speech on Instagram or whatever. Either way, we'll get into that later in this video. I wanted to talk about the Patrick Kane story, the fact that he found himself back in the Chicago Blackhawks system after 3 years with the Detroit Red Wings. Honestly, it doesn't really surprise me the fact that he was able to go back to Chicago, especially at that dollar amount. $8 million a year means the Blackhawks are really just not serious about being that cap-maximizing team at the moment. Okay, Patrick Kane is 37 years old. He's a veteran. Look at the dollars that he was making on his previous contracts. $3 million, $4 million, 2.7. Oh, let's give him 8. Yeah, you gave him 8 because you wanted to guarantee that he'd come over to your team, not because it's like a great move, per se. Now, it's great for Kane. Good for him to get the bag and absolutely double his pay raise over the past few years. But when you think about Chicago, obviously this is not a team that is like on the cusp of winning yet another Stanley Cup. Although it is noteworthy that Patrick Kane did say that he came over to Chicago not because he just wants to be a part of a rebuilding team and help cultivate the future or whatever, but he also did say that he wants to go over to Chicago to potentially help them win. This is what was talked about on his Twitter post about the entire thing. You see, Patty Kane made a dual statement. He had the Red Wings side, and then he had the Chicago side. And in fact, you had both the Red Wings and the Blackhawks commenting hearts under the matter. Man, whoever thought that this would be something, you know? If you showed Red Wings and Blackhawks fans this series of tweets 12 years ago, could you imagine the outrage? What do you mean Patrick Kane is a Red Wing? Like, that would have been such a big, juicy narrative back in the day. But, of course, you know, we all know the story, right? Chicago won 3 Stanley Cups with Patrick Kane as one of the top guys. Kane is an Art Ross winner. He is a Conn Smythe winner. One of the best American players of all time, if not the best American player of all time. But by the time his Chicago Blackhawks team stopped being competitive, he finally needed to get a new home in the NHL. He got traded to New York, finished off the 2023 season there, and then had hip resurfacing surgery in that offseason. It was scary because nobody had ever taken that surgery and come back to continue their National Hockey League career in a successful manner, ever. There were guys that had hip resurfacing surgeries, but their careers essentially ended because they couldn't come back and compete at the same level. Jovanovski, Ryan Kessler, just to name a few guys. Patrick Kane was looking to be the exception, not the rule. Some of us thought, hey, maybe Kane is going to be done. He has this surgery, he's out, and he's going to be yet another one of these NHL players that has a legendary career and then somehow finds his way onto the New York Rangers before instantly retiring. But Kane said, nah, let me just rehab this a little bit. I want to be that exception, not the rule. And he ended up signing with the Detroit Red Wings. Short-term deal, very cheap deal, and he ended up scoring 47 points in 50 games. Not bad in the slightest. He then one-upped himself 1 year, 2 years, each on a 1-year contract with Detroit, 59 points and 57 points the years after. And he really established himself as a guy that was able to come over and actually provide value. Kane even said that he was really appreciative of the Detroit Red Wings for doing their due diligence and giving him confidence that he could have the proper recovery and tools necessary to become an NHL athlete once again after that hip resurfacing surgery. So to see Kane make two dual statements about Detroit and Chicago in this way, it makes sense why they're so personal and somewhat sentimental over here. Kane's commentary to Detroit says this: "Thank you to Marion and Chris Ilitch, Steve Yzerman, all the coaches, players, trainers, equipment managers, and everyone within the organization for making Detroit a special place for me and my family over the past few seasons. To be able to play with Alex DeBrincat again, one of my best friends in hockey, and watch our sons develop a similar friendship was incredible. You're an amazing player in person, and I cherished our time together on and off the ice. To Dylan Larkin, Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, Michael Rasmussen, JT Compher, and Andrew Copper, as well as Ben Sherratt, thank you for being amazing teammates and trying to pull the most out of me and our team every day. It's just too bad Ben Sherratt scored to help me break the US points record. Now I'll have to hear about that forever." Finally, to the fans. Wow, what can I say? The support I felt over the last few seasons was unbelievable. I never expected that coming from Chicago. To score my 500th goal and 1,375th point at home at the Little Caesars Arena in front of you was perfect. Thank you for all your love. Sorry we couldn't get over the hump and get into playoffs. That's all anyone wanted. It was truly an honor to be a Red Wing, and I enjoyed every minute of it. To be part of such a storied franchise and be welcomed with open arms is something my family and I will never forget. Thank you, Detroit. Man, what a great statement. Like, say what you want about Patrick Kane personally, taxi drivers and all, but this is a guy that, this is such an honest statement, and it's very personal. He talks specifically about Alex DeBrincat, the relationship between his son and DeBrincat's son, all the teammates, chirping Ben Sherratt, and then saying to the fans, yeah, I'm sorry that we couldn't get into the playoffs. We know that's what you wanted, and we failed you. Very great statement, and probably the best one I've seen out of any NHL player departing their storied NHL franchise in the past few years. If you head over to Kane and his Twitter, you will see the statement to Chicago. What a time! To say I get to be a Blackhawk again is an amazing feeling. Thank you to Danny Wirtz, Kyle Davidson, and Jeff Blashill in your belief to bring me back. I chose to come back because of the talent here and to be a part of helping this iconic franchise get back to the next level. And also to try to help the team win. The love, passion, and energy I've felt from the fans has been unparalleled. Even when I was not always wearing the Blackhawks sweater, there's nothing like the city of Chicago and home games in the United Center. I cannot wait to pull the red sweater on, hear that anthem, and play in front of you again. Let's go. Gosh, what a fan favorite. And what a guy that has totally turned the Detroit reputation on him upside down. The Chicago and Detroit rivalry of the 2010s was one for the ages, where Kane, Taves, Datsuk, these guys were always battling it out with each other, trying to one-up, trying to get those points, trying to get those wins, trying to get those playoff series victories. It was tough. Seabrook, Keith, Zetterberg, Kronwall, just all these names, man. Legendary stuff. And so for Patrick Kane to make peace with both franchises in the span of about 3 years or so, it's quite the surprise in his overall development, is it not? Either way, this is really sad for the Red Wings, amazing for the Blackhawks, and you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Patrick Kane's two statements over here? One to Detroit, one to Chicago. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.